Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test. Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AM/DX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AM/DXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
The Gulf South
to your corner of the world.
This is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live, my friends, here on a wonderful, beautiful Friday night from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Greetings to you all, and hopefully you're having yourself a great week of DX, just a great week in general. Ready for some fun this weekend, I hope. Glad to see you all here, and hopefully you've had a good time with our medium wave frequency challenge of the week. We'll talk a bit about that here in a bit. We'll be relaying the results from week 2, and we'll also be getting ready for week 4. We'll be announcing the frequency for week 4 here a bit later on in the program. Oh man, I have to be honest with you. I haven't had a ton of time this week for DX, unfortunately. It's been a busy week. Some of you may know that this week I spent some time working on the ham radio side of things. I have a DX Commander quarter wave vertical for 40 meters through 10 meters that I originally had in the backyard. Some faulty engineering on my part. A wind gust came along and blew it down. And so we had to order a new one because we lost some of the elements and some of the other things. And he made some upgrades to the kit since our last order, so I wanted to take advantage of those. So I got a whole new kit of the 40 through 10 and spent this past weekend and the first, 4 days this week, putting up the new antenna. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do any DX. Did a little bit here and there. Spent some time on 570 and a couple of other frequencies. We'll talk a bit about that. Did have a moment last night of kind of overzealous enthusiasm when WWL 870 AM here in New Orleans, I mean, if you know, the big 50 kilowatter, coming out of their coverage of Thursday Night Football, it seemed like somebody at the board forgot to turn something up or re-engage the automation or whatever, and they were running dead carrier, open carrier, for a good bit last night. And I did hear in the background, I could hear radio low on 870 underneath the carrier, but that carrier is so strong. It was just, I'll post a video to social media later on to show you all what I had last night, just for an hour, 30 minutes, somewhere in there. So I didn't really get anything super special, which I was hoping for. I'm still of the mind that eventually I'm going to convince WWL to do a dead air period at some point and talk to them as kind of a pseudo DX test kind of thing. Get them to do a dead air period to do some maintenance on their transmitter or something, so we can all have a shot at seeing what's there underneath WWL. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Maybe we can make a rotation of that and have that be part of the CPC duties, is in addition to trying to organize DX tests, see if we can organize some silent periods. That might be fun. So yeah, we were finishing up week 3 right now of our medium wave frequency challenge. We've been on 2 frequencies, 570 for our US, it's for everybody, but 570 on the US side for the 10 kilohertz split. On the 9 kilohertz split, we've been running 1053. And seeing some good results. I expect the number to be down a little bit because we're only running 2 frequencies opposed to a range of them. And these are 2 frequencies that there's not a ton there, but we're still seeing some good logs coming in, a good fair number of logs coming in. So we'll be talking about that a bit later on. We're also going to be announcing our results from week 2 when we were DXing 670 to 702. We'll be announcing those results here in a bit after top of the hour. And then later on in the program, obviously, we'll be announcing our week 4 frequency, or frequencies in this case, and our new challenge for the week. So very excited about that. As always, we have a couple of SDRs up and running here. And I do have to also say, another thing that I had going on this week that kind of kept me from DX is I had to take the computer down again to put in the new video capture card for our Sony camera here that you guys are seeing me on right now. We have 2 cameras, right? We have camera 1 and we have camera 2. Camera 1 had been kind of flaky, freezing up a little bit, so a new capture card sorted that out real nice. And so now we've got a couple of things. We'll take a little tour of the shack here. We've got 570 here on our Perseus / Jaguar setup. This is one with the 2 kHz antennas. We've got the north-south kHz pointing north right now. We've got our northwest-southeast kHz pointing northwest, actually. I did move that recently. We also have our Elad FDM S3. This has the northeast-southwest kHz. It's in the southwest position. And then on top of that, we have our FlexRadio Flex 6400 with a SmartSDR. This has the 2 W6 LVP loops. And now the DX Commander and the mystery antenna that we already had up in anyway for our ham radio stuff. So did a little playing around with that. We'll talk about that later on. To start off, though, let's go ahead and get ready for some live DX. We're coming up on top of the hour. Of course, this hour of live DX is brought to you by the International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.org. So we're starting off here on 570, one of our frequencies of the week. And we're on the North Kaz. Let's see what we got. We haven't had a lot here. We've had KLIF. We've had Radio Low. We had Columbia in there for a bit. And we had, what was the 4th one? XEBJB down in Mexico. Those are the 4 stations that we've had. And we had all of them the first night, and that's it. We've had nothing since. I tried everything to get South Dakota. And I know some of you guys got some new stuff this week, so we're going to be celebrating that later on as well. So you can see that's part of why I haven't heard a whole lot. Just noise, noise, noise. I'm trying to get the audio video sync to fix up a little bit. I know it's a little laggy. The new capture card, it's a little bit different.
News and information. KLIF, KLIF can be heard on the FM. If you have a newer vehicle, go to KLIF.com/FM to learn how. This is Real News and Information 570 KLIF. KLIF.com.
Today, Hannity's 9 Eastern tonight. Set your DVR. Tulsi Gabbard is now going to campaign.
Noise floor? Is that what you're asking, Dave?
About her exit from the Democratic Party. Joe Clench and Tammy Bruce tonight. Tudor Dixon is now tied.
Let's do a top of the hour alert, guys. Let's go. It's alert time, top of the hour time. Let's see what we got behind door number 1. And go KLIF.
22 days.
I hear a little below in there as well, though. We're hearing a little bit of them.
See you tonight, back on Monday. 570 KLIF and 96.3 FM HD2.
Yeah, I'll talk about that here in a bit, Dave. I'll share some of my observations and see if you guys are seeing something similar here about noise.
46% of its value. The price of oil quadrupled. The U.S. economy collapsed and inflation ran through the roof. The price of gold shot up 1,300% and silver rocketed over 2,400%. So, if history repeats itself, we could see it happen again. Can you afford to miss what could be the biggest gold and silver boom of our generation? That's why I want you to call Gold Club at 855-815-GOLD. Because when you do, you'll not only get the chance to protect your retirement savings with gold and silver, but if you're a Vanity listener, you can get $12,000 or more in free money just for doing it.
Scratchy dog.
It's a rare opportunity. So don't miss out. Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Call Gold Club today. 855-815-GOLD.
I used to be on the air for that one, Mike. I used to do the high school sports on WWNC back in the day. Very nice. Hey, Marco. Welcome.
European nations are set to respond to Russia's recent troop mobilization for joint training for the Ukrainian
Here, we'll pause you up here, Rick, and see if we got anything. Let's take a look. I know you said you're on 1230. You're hearing a station in Southwest Michigan, potentially, with a 269 area code. We've got a WBET in Sturgis on 1230. They are a sports station, Fox Sports Radio, which is right about here. Right? And so that wouldn't be too bad. I remember when I was in Omaha, I heard a station in Sturgis. I don't know if it was them or not. And Bill, you probably know the lay of the land a bit better than I do from your neck of the woods. So I don't know if you would consider Grand Rapids in that 269 area code or part of that southwest part of the state, or if it's really kind of just right there in Sturgis or not. That's probably what I would imagine is your best bet. So yeah, congrats, man. We're gonna celebrate that one here in a few minutes. You know how we do. So we've got 3 of our 4 stations that I've heard this week here on 570 have made an appearance so far. So we started off here with KLIF with news and Fox News there at the top of the hour. Underneath them we had Radio Reload. They're still there. You hear the ticks and you hear the Spanish talking. You're hearing the Morse code in the top of the hour minute beep. And then we also had a nice top of the hour ID. Actually, the first time I've heard them since last Friday night, coincidentally, from Radio Nacional de Colombia on 570, HJND. Nice to hear them in there again from El Rosal. That's a nice inland catch. Normally, a lot of times when I hear Colombia here, it's something closer to the coast. Anytime you can get kind of further inland like that, that always feels nice to get them down there. And we don't even have the antenna pointed due south right now. We're looking north, and we have the vactrol on the backside trying to null out as much as we can, but they're still sneaking through. So that's pretty cool. And so yeah, it looks like Rick got himself a new one in Sturgis, Michigan from Omaha. That's really nice, really, really nice. Good job, my friend. I wish we could have had something up your way on 570 this week, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep on trying to see if I can get NAX in the logbook. I have some things up my sleeve I may try here that I couldn't pull off this week, but we're gonna work on it. All right, so yeah, we got those 4, except for XEBJB. We didn't hear that one yet, but I promise you, if I switched over to the Elad with the wire facing southwest, we would probably pull them in. I did hear them a couple times this week. Hotabe. So let's go ahead and we'll do a quick break. When we come back, we'll do our week 2 results from the medium wave frequency challenge. We'll talk a bit about what we did this week from a DX standpoint. We're going to talk a bit about this guy here. Talk a bit about it and what that's going to be meaning and what that's going to do. And why I have that here in my hand right now. And some other great DX related stuff, and of course later on announcing week 4 of the medium wave frequency challenge. So don't go away, my friends. Stay tuned. More DX Central Live is coming right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AM/DX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AM/DXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
We got Bill over here. Our hammer, laying down the law. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you, man. You know, I said it to Justin last week. I guess you've arrived when the dating sites and the spammers show up in your live stream. Either that or they know their audience. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna be doing some discussion, obviously, on our frequency challenge, wrapping up week 3, results from week 2, announcing week 4 a bit later on. I did kind of tease it before the break here. We're gonna be talking about this guy. This is a MFJ-1026 Phaser, essentially. And this is brand new. It just came in today from DX Engineering, because I couldn't find one at Gigaparts, and they're the same price at both. So I went ahead and picked one up. I got the power supply on the way, and that's part of the story. We'll be talking about this one here in a bit. Let's go ahead and do our DXC tweet of the week. So we are over on Twitter, twitter.com/DX Central. So if you're on Twitter, make sure you give us a follow, and we post our updates about our DX adventures there. We make announcements related to the channel and the website there as well. So make sure you definitely check that out, twitter.com/DX Central. And so one of the things that we do there is we do a tweet of the week. So it's our DXC tweet of the week. And so you can use the hashtag DXC tweet of the week if you would like to nominate somebody as the tweet of the week. If you find a AM or FM DX related tweet that you think is of value, you can nominate them out. And the last couple weeks, we've had some good nominations that have come in. This week, we had some that were kind of thrown out there, but I'm picking this week's tweet of the week. And I'll tell you why here in a second. So let's go.
It's time for the DX Central Live hashtag tweet of the week. Tweet. Tweet, tweet.
So our DXC tweet of the week here. Let's go ahead and pull them up, and let's turn off that lower third there from YouTube. This is from our good friend Les Rayburn, N1LF. You guys know him from the courtesy program committee of the CPC. He's our fearless leader on the CPC. He had a fantastic tweet thread, I thought, this week that I wanted to make sure I kind of talked about for you guys. Because I talk about this quite often myself, and sometimes in DX we have less than ideal situations. So it'd be nice if every time you were able to sit down in DX you had this nice big booming crystal clear ID coming in, but that's not always the case. on AM certainly, but on FM it can be even more tricky to do. I feel like they do ID more often. We have RDS and things like that on the FM side, but in things like meteor scatter here, like Les had recently, it can be very in and out, and you have to kind of use the clues that are left there for you to be able to narrow down who you're hearing. So it takes a little bit of detective work, as he's talking about here. So there was we called a Blue Wizard, a long duration ping. He captured just enough local content from KAMY 90.1 in Lubbock, Texas. Les is in Alabama. It's about 868 miles for a meteor scatter reception. And then he goes on to talk about some of the clues. So beaming 300 degrees on FM6 NVIS antenna, recording a single frequency 90.1 on total recorder for hours. You can review an entire 12 hours of audio in about 15 minutes. The audio recording showed a clear peak in Sony SoundForge 16, which is his sound editing software he's using here. Playback revealed more clues. There's contemporary Christian music, Natalie Grant and husband Bernie Herms on November 10th at the Calvary Worship Center. And we can actually play the clip here so you guys can hear some of this stuff. Let me see if I can get it to play here.
Together on tour. World-class vocalist, world-class pianist, stripped down for one elegant night. Calvary Worship Center, November 10th.
And that was it. They were gone. So you have this ionization that happens from the trail of the meteor that's coming through the atmosphere, reflection of the FM signal off of that ionization trail. And once the ionization trail dissipates and it's gone, the FM signal doesn't have anything to reflect off of. It shoots back up and it's gone. So he had this very brief bit of audio, but there was enough in there, and you don't always get this, obviously, but there was enough in there. He kind of outlined the stuff, and you probably heard them in here. So from that, he did a quick Google search and found that Ms. Grant and her husband are playing at the Calvary Worship Center in Lubbock, Texas on November 10th. And a search of the WFTDA FM database shows one station on 90.1 in the city of Lubbock, KAMY, whose format fits the promo and what he was hearing. So there you go. He was able to add a new one to the logbook using a little bit of detective work and using the clues that were provided to him. We have to do this sometimes on AM side as well. We were just talking with Bill a few moments ago, or I'm sorry, with Rick a few moments ago about his experience here on 1230, hearing a football game with one of the teams as being Sturgeon. I think one was Adrian or Arden or something like that. There was a 269 area code given, I would assume, in a local ad. All that pointed to Southwest Michigan. We go to 1230. There's a station in Sturgis. So even though he doesn't have an ID, he's able to pull enough clues together to be able to identify this is who that station is. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you do use all those clues and you don't have enough to work off of. Sometimes all you have is a network break with a toll-free ad, or you're just listening to Fox Sports Radio or Fox, some kind of talk show from Premier Networks or something like that, and it's all syndicated. You don't have really a whole lot to work with. So when it does work, though, like that, when we do have those opportunities to take in enough local content, that can be a pretty powerful thing. That's one of the reasons that Friday night is such a great night to DX, because you have high school football happening, and that can bring you a lot of that localized content, as Rick just saw. So that's our DXE tweet of the week from our good friend Les Rayburn. I wanted to make sure we shared that with you all. And so make sure, if you're on Twitter, nominate your favorite AM FM DX related tweet of the week using the hashtag DXC tweet of the week.
It's time for the DX Central Live hashtag tweet of the week. Tweet. Tweet, tweet.
All right, so thank you, Les, for your awesome tweet. All right, so a couple things we want to talk about before we get back to the DX. So why do I keep pulling this MFJ-1026 here on screen? Why do I keep talking about it and holding it up? So when we redid the shack here back in April, we did the renovation like you guys saw probably in the video before the stream started. One of the things that I had to do is I had this over on this side where I have a DC power outlet with Anderson power poles. I had to move it now over here because I was moving all my kind of antenna gear onto this side. So I couldn't stretch. I still needed the power pole over here for my Elad SDR. And so I couldn't put another power cord for this all the way around. I didn't have a long enough one. So I decided you know what? I think I have a power supply that may work for this. I made sure I got a center pin, got a 12 volt VDC, got a center pin positive, and plugged it in. And next thing I knew, I smelt the familiar smell of burning electronics, and smoke was pouring out of the seams of the other phaser that I had. Smoke checked it, dead as a doornail. So that was my fault. That was my bad. But was waiting for a while for Gigaparts or some of the others to get one in stock. I never saw one until just the other day. DX Engineering had one in stock. So I wanted to make sure I grabbed another one. And there's a power supply, the actual power supply, heading this way from Gigaparts. Should be here within a couple of days or so. So what this is going to be, this is going to go with my FlexRadio that we have sitting over here. This is our Flex Smart SDR display you see here. I'm going to plug this my 2W6 LVP loops through this one, and I'm going to use this to do phasing on the two loops, both for ham radio use and also obviously for AMDX. So I do have a video up here on our YouTube channel on modifying this, because if you get this phaser stock like I just bought, I just pulled it out of the box this afternoon, I have to go in here and do a modification for it to work on AM, because there is an AM bandpass filter for the broadcast band in here that I have to remove a couple components to remove that. So make sure you check out our video. It's a super easy modification to do. It's a couple little things, you just get rid of them and there you go, you're done. So I'll be doing that modification again here pretty soon. But then once I get that done and I've got my power supply and everything's up and running, I'm going to do a video on phasing. This often requested video on how to do phasing. So this is a phaser that uses, you can use antennas of variable gain. So you may have a long wire and some kind of like a vertical, or you may have a loop and a long wire. You may have a loop with an amp and a loop that doesn't have an amp, that kind of thing. So what this allows you to do is actually level set the gain between the two, so you can set your levels to be the same level in your SDR between the two antennas. And then once you have that, then you can start playing with the phase. As opposed to, I have over here on my right over here a Lankford-Misek phaser. Right over here, this spot right here, you can't really see it very well. I have a Lankford-Misek phaser, and with that Lankford-Misek phaser, the difference with that one is that it doesn't have, you don't adjust the levels of the antennas, because this is designed to work with two antennas of similar gain. I have two kHz antennas, both running Wellbrook preamps, 23 dB of gain, so they should be equal set. So then the knobs that are there are for fine tuning the phase between both of the antennas. I can adjust the phase of both of them. Where here, I'm just adjusting the phase between them, right? So we'll talk a bit about the difference on those and how the phasing works, and show you guys the technique that I use for phasing that's always worked really well for me. So that'll be a video that we work on. So as soon as we get that mod done and the power supply in, be on the lookout for a new video on phasing for AMDX here at some point in the near future. All right, so let's go ahead and do our quick recap of week 2 of the medium wave frequency challenge. So this is the week that we were looking at 670 to 702 that we finished up last week. We had a great week. You'll see over 200 logging submitted last week for that frequency challenge, and we have a new winner, a new top dog for the week. Who is it? Huh? Any guesses? Let's take a look. Clean sweep, Rob. Most states, most countries, furthest heard, and most loggings. Clean sweep for our friend Rob up in the upstate, the old, I used to live in Greenville, Greer, both, actually. And so I never had the kind of AMDX results that Rob's getting. So kudos, my friend. You're hearing some great stuff, including BBC 5 on 693. That's the second week in a row. Rob actually was able to bring the UK into the challenge, so and take the top mileage spot. So congratulations, my friend. Kudos to you, and kudos to all of you who participated this last week. We'll be putting up the result video up on YouTube that you just saw, and I'll also be posting a link that'll have our blog post. That'll have the link with the video as well as the actual spreadsheet with all the results, tables, and everything like that, because I know you guys like to get in there and analyze the data and kind of compare notes and see how you did compared to some other folks, similar locations and things like that. So I still want to make sure that we make that that data available to you. So I'll be posting that here soon. All right, so good job, Rob. Good job, Barry. Right on his heels with 18 logs, and pretty much right on his heels on all those other categories, right? States, countries. So, and I think, was it mileage was the second? Yeah, second place for mileage as well. So yeah, good job, man. And good job to all of you. Appreciate you all. 206 loggings. That's a fantastic week of DX. For week 3, we're finishing up 570 and 1053. I'll tell you this, when I looked at it earlier, we were right at, or almost right at, 100 logs for the week with just 570 and 1053. Just those two frequencies were just under 100 logs, right around it. So that's a great week as well, with just really, two frequencies there for us to look at. We still have time if you want to get your logs in. I'll put the link for the Google form into the chat. You have about another 35 minutes or so to get your logs in from week 3 on 570 and 1053. And then a bit later on this hour, we'll be announcing week 4, our new frequency of the week. All right. So we got that done. We talked about the phaser. We talked about our medium wave frequency challenge. Let's talk a bit about the DX that we had this week. I know I saw some folks mention that they had some new loggings this week, some new stuff coming in. You still got time. Bring your announcements in if you have things you heard, new logs, new states, new countries. We want to celebrate that with you here on DX Central Live as a group. Make sure we all give you a big pat on the back for that, because anytime you can add a new one to the logbook, a new state, new country, new station, it's always cause for a celebration. So we'll be getting those in. I saw a couple folks mention them a little bit ago. Go ahead and put yours in the chat. We'll get to you as well here in just a few moments. Charles on cue. Charles says Oklahoma. You know what? Let's go ahead and celebrate that, because Charles is in Southern California, down in San Diego way, and he just heard, he's been chasing I think it was KOKC, wasn't it, Charles? He's been chasing this station in Oklahoma relentlessly for a while now, and got him. So we're going to start the big congrats with you, my friend, because you have worked your tail off to get that in the logbook. So you know what? You know what? Hold up. There we go. Let's do that one again. You deserve the actual celebration where it's not blocked out by our logo. How about that? And for Charles, there we go. Oh, yes. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Being able to celebrate with you guys when you get new ones in the logbook. I saw Bill mention a new one coming in, and I know I saw some other folks earlier mention some new ones. So if you have new logs, new states, new countries, add them to the chat. We're going to throw these celebrations out to you as well here in a bit. So did a little bit of, I mentioned the ham radio stuff with the antenna this week. Did some ham radio work last night. Actually was doing some FaceTime with Dad, N5FPW. A lot of you know Larry Van Horn. We were FaceTiming each other, and he was telling me where he was seeing stuff, and I was telling him where I was seeing stuff. So we were bouncing back and forth and working stuff. And I do have to say, so one thing, he alerted me to the fact that there appeared to be some trans-equatorial DX happening on 6 meters. So I was able to last night add a new country on 6 meters, Argentina. 2 of them down there. Thanks, Pop. Appreciate that. He also alerted me to Comoros. I think it was, what band was that? Was that 10 meters? I don't remember what band it was on. Hold on. Here, I'll turn the mic back. Let me see. Where is my... How about right about here? Is that good? If it's still popping, let me know. I got a compressor on it, but I know it can sometimes get to be a bit too much. So I don't remember what band it was on. It was 12 or 10, I don't remember. But the island of Comoros off of Madagascar, added that one last night, and a handful of others. So if you're into ham radio, if you do ham radio pursuits, FT8, sideband contest, whatever, definitely follow us on Twitter. We'd love to work you and add you to the logbook as well. So whenever we do a session on ham radio, I'll be sure to tweet that out so you guys have a chance to come up and join us as well. And I've done a couple of ham radio related live streams. There's no reason why I can't do some more. So if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, maybe us sitting on a band working FT8 together, or maybe if we're chasing during a contest or whatever. I know Bill was there for a couple contests we did last year. Let me know. Would love to know what you guys think if you're interested in some ham radio stuff, because I think that's there are a lot of YouTube channels out there doing ham radio related stuff, and we're not going to be those guys. We're a very different entity here, but I think we can have some fun with it. So if you're a ham radio operator and like to do that kind of stuff, let us know. What would you like to see on the ham radio side? And we'll take a look and explore that. All right. All right. So let's go over here and do a little DXing. So let's see if 570 is opening up at all. Oh, before I go any further, I think we have a big kudos we have to give here. Speaking of 570, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm double checking my math before I say something and then look really stupid. I think it was, yes. We have a post here on Facebook. You guys can see the post here. You can't probably read it. It's a little blurry because the focus is probably not on it. But you see there's a video playing right here of an SDR capture. This is our friend Dave. I think Dave's actually here right now. Our friend Dave on 570 this week, capturing KLAC out of Los Angeles. 5 kilowatt regional. Our friend Dave, located in Fort Smith, Arkansas, which is just to our northwest here, kind of in this area right up in here. I want you to see, when I have my mouse pointer here, what's really close by, right? It's KLIF, Dallas, which has been a menace to me. I've tried phasing them. I've tried using the vactrol to null them out. I can get rid of them, but there's not a whole lot there left. You know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for South Dakota. Dave grabs from Fort Smith, Arkansas, grabs KLAC in Los Angeles on 570. You know what? You know what? That's a kudo. That's got to get a big kudo because, you know, KFI, KNX, those are great stations to add on, you know, this kind of part of the country, right? Midwest, West, or Midwest East part of the country. we get excited about hearing California out here. I know you guys on the West Coast are like, but over here we get excited about that stuff, right? Like Charles is excited about Oklahoma, and I'm like, oh, KOKC, come on. But Dave, right there, basically in the shadows of a very strong KLIF, was able to pull out KLAC, and I'm saying this as an inspiration, hopefully, to a lot of us, including my own self, because I suffer from this too. It's very easy to assume when we have a station that dominates a frequency like that. Maybe it's nearby, maybe it's a local, maybe it's just super strong. Like for me here, KLIF on 570, WLAC in Nashville, things like that. We think it's just every time I go there, they're going to be there. And maybe 9 times out of 10, they are. It just takes one time. They're always going to be dominant until they're not. And when they're not, that's when things happen. That's when the KLACs come in, right? That's when on 1090 in the shadows of KAAY before they powered down, I heard Rice Lake, Wisconsin, WAQE from Mandeville with a W6LVP loop, right? That's when these things happen. When you least expect it, you're just like, let me just go check. And you don't think anything's going to come of it because you think it's going to be the same ones you always hear until it's not. And when it's not, that's when magic happens. So when we do these frequency challenges, I know it's very tempting a lot of times for people to say, oh, I've got so-and-so there. They're going to be dominant. I'm not going to hear anything. Not so fast. Give them a shot. See what you got. Check in morning, evening, overnight. Check every day. Try different antenna combinations if you have things you can try. Turn the radios different ways. They're going to be there until they're not. And when they're not, man, that can be pretty special. So congrats, Dave, my friend. Good job. Very jealous of your catch there from our northwest of us here up in Arkansas.
Evaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900.
And as always, if you we're on 570 right now, and I'm assuming this is KLIF as a point of contention here. If you have a frequency you want us to check out, maybe you're doing some DX, hearing some high school football, things like that. If you have a frequency you want us to check out, let us know over in the chat.
820, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Dell's wealth cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2022. Save 60%. Code 2022. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Your local radio stations are here for you. No subscriptions or monthly fees necessary. We're here to give you the news, weather, and traffic you need, and the music you love. But if the foreign-owned record labels get their way, it could stop the music. They want Congress to force radio stations to pay them more money, simply to play their music. Don't let radio go silent.
Charles, not this week, no. I did hear them recently for the very first time. The question was about KWML over in Las Cruces, New Mexico here on 570. Not this week, but I did hear them recently. I was really hoping to be able to add them this week, and I found that mornings seem to be better, so I've been looking in the mornings, but I guess the gray line path hasn't been the same, so I haven't caught them yet. I'll keep looking, though.
Welcome back to the Michael Knowles Show. I'm Michael Knowles. So pleased to see a Democrat finally giving an...
And here's another good example. Dave, again, right to my northwest, sitting on 570. What's he have? Does he have KLIF right now? No. He's got Mexico. Hota Bay, XEBJB.
Washington, D.C.
I'm down here to the southeast of him, closer to Mexico. What do I have? I have Dallas.
From Minnesota. She just fell into one of the most beautiful Freudian slips I have ever seen. This was in a debate with her opponent. Take a listen.
I will never stop standing up
now,
for Big Pharma and standing against my constituents.
Now, I'm going to try to use a little phasing here to see what I can do to get rid of KLIF and see what's there. So this is like a little demonstration of what phasing can do. You won't be able to see the knobs over here, but I'm adjusting the phase on the two wires I have. The two kHz's, one's northwest, one's north. Let's see what we could do.
Claimed she wanted to institute a price control for certain drugs in the pharmaceutical industry. But at a deeper level, on issues that are much more important.
So that's Dallas gone, but as you hear, noise replaced them, and then a little bit of Cuba and something else that I'm assuming is Colombia. Hey, Killer Cat. Nice to see you in there again, my friend. So Barry wants to know how many Van Horns are in the radio hobby. There's 3 of us that I'm aware of. We like to joke that we're gonna start the on ham radio side the Worked All Van Horns award. Work 1 of us, you get a bronze, 2 gets a silver, 3, all 3 of us, you get a gold. So yeah, that's it was a definite advantage growing up in a household with 2 experienced DXers that I could bounce ideas off of, that I could use their equipment. Let's be honest, that was nice. When I got out on my own and I was having to pay for my own equipment, that was very apparent how lucky I was. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun growing up in a radio household. And what you're witnessing right now, by the way, with KLIF kind of coming back up is as the skywave conditions change, as that D layer of the atmosphere breaks down, you get less ground wave, more skywave, things like that. The phasing of the signals that you're getting will change. And so when you phase out a station at one point, maybe earlier in the evening, as that D layer completely disappears and you're getting at a different angle, now it's coming at you at a different angle, and so the phasing changes. You have to rephase them back out again. That's why phasing during sunset and sunrise can be maddening sometimes, because you get a lock on them, they're done, you got them knocked out, and then there they are, strong again. So. I I'm going to assume our music here is either Mexico or Colombia, obviously. Well, that's kind of the easy answer, either one of those two. I'm going to assume probably Colombia out of the two. Hey, Justin. So we have a couple of international DXers in here. Thank you. I love seeing you guys in there. That's really awesome. So thank you for coming in and joining us this evening. Obviously, we'll be announcing week 4 here in a bit. We do have a 9 kilohertz frequency for you guys to have fun with and participate with. And in addition to also obviously trying our US frequency as well. You're definitely anything you hear there, submit that logging. Just like for our US DXers, if you hear something on the 9 kilohertz split frequency, you can also submit that log in addition to anything you hear on the 10 kilohertz frequency. So we'll have those 2 frequencies for everybody to be able to submit. But I really want to make sure, I felt like last season I did a disservice to our international friends and not really making it feel welcome for you. So we want to correct that this year. You're absolutely part of this fun. So thank you for being here. Now, I'm not sure if anybody has ears on this music from your location, or if you have a stream you can pull up for Mexico here, XEBJB. We potentially also could have La Mexicana XEOA down here as an option. I've heard some people mentioning that, but I haven't heard them here yet. We also have obviously Colombia here as well. So the music that we're hearing right now, I'm not sure if anybody has a chance to run this up against the stream and see if you can hear a parallel. Okay, so not Hoda Bay, okay. I'm thinking it's Colombia, but I don't know for sure. I know what we can do. Let's swap over here to our Elad FDMS3. Let me pull that one up here because that is on a southwest wire right now. Let's see what we hear on that. That's kind of what I thought, Eric. Rick, that's awesome. 18 states on graveyard frequencies. 18 states on graveyard frequencies. I'm going to keep saying that until it sounds like a real thing to me, because that sounds unbelievable. Sounds amazing. 18 states on graveyard channels alone. My goodness, man. Congrats, dude. That's awesome. There was Hoda Bay, and I would expect that now because I'm on the southwest wire pointing pretty much right at him. Let's go back to the Jaguar and the north and northwest phased. Yes, they do, Charles. And we may be getting some practice of that this week. Okay, that's kind of, yeah, that's what I thought. So we do have Columbia here on the kHz with the Jaguar and the Perseus. Over here on the Elad with the other kHz, we did hear the Hoda Bay ID in there. So we had both of those. So that's good. Okay, we got those in there. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna do some more live DX. We're gonna announce our new frequencies of the week. If you were paying attention there, you might have gotten a hint. Maybe. Some guesses in the chat. What do you think we might be going to this week for our frequency of the week? We'd like to see what your guesses are. It's always fun. Yeah, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more live DX right here on DX Central Live.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
There we go. Well, hey, I know somebody got a new state this week, in addition to Charles, I'm sure. So that's a little preemptive celebration. We're going to get back to those celebrations here in a few moments for everybody. But first, we have some business to take care of. We need to announce our new frequency of the week for our medium wave frequency challenge for week 4. Saw some good guesses over here. We had a 1230, 1240, 1490. Some folks begging for not 1490. Aw. 1490 is fun. 1450 is my favorite. That's my favorite graveyard frequency of all time. It's 1450. I just feel like, for whatever reason, we've already done that one, so you're not going to see that one yet. I don't want to repeat, if I can help it, until we've run out of frequencies to use. All right, so let's go ahead and do our announcement for this week's medium wave frequency challenge. Justin's over there still pleading his case, not 1490. Well, let's do it. Let's see what we got. I think you guys might have a clue of where we're heading here in general sense. Let's go ahead and take a look, though. All right, so there you go. 1400 graveyard frequency. I feel like it's one that's kind of forgotten about. Like, I see a lot of 1230, a lot of 1240, a lot of 1450, a lot of 1490s. I don't see a lot of 1340. I don't see a lot of 1400s when people talk about graveyards. Those are two that I feel are kind of forgotten about graveyard frequencies here in the U.S. And then obviously for our international friends and our coastal friends, 621 as well for you. When I was in Charleston, 621 out of Spain was the loudest transatlantic station that I had. And so I know there's some Asians there. There's some stuff in Europe on 621. There's some stuff down under. There's some Middle Eastern stuff there. Some other European stuff. There's a good mix, I feel like, on 621 for everybody to be able to have some fun there, both domestic here in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. There's enough there for a lot of folks to have some fun on 621. So we are going to pop over, I think... well, actually, no, we're not, because I don't have my Northeast wire right now. So, if anyone wants to do 621, go ahead and let me know what you're hearing. If you're, especially our East Coast friends right now, where you're having that kind of sunset condition. But we're gonna pop over here to 1400 for our top of the hour alert coming up here in a few moments. And look at that. There's all our 1400 stations here in the U.S. that we have to work from. Every time we've ever done a graveyard frequency, every single time, we get absolutely bombarded with logs. I'm talking like the winner has 20, 30, 40 logs on one frequency. So I'm looking for a lot of logs this week. I'm going to pop the new form over here in the chat in just a few moments. I've got a local here, semi-local, to be FPR in Hammond, Louisiana, which is just to my west. So we'll be kind of dealing with that. But I have, as you can see on screen, every one of those little white ones you see on screen right there is a station that I've heard. So I've heard a couple of Mississippi, a couple of Louisianas, an Arkansas, a couple of Texas and Oklahoma. So there's a lot of mix here for me, even with a semi-local here in Hammond. So let's go. Now, this hour of live AMDX is brought to you by the National Radio Club. NationalRadioClub.org is the website for more information about becoming a member. And as always, I tell you guys, I highly, highly suggest, if you are not a member of the National Radio Club or the IRCAonline.org, please become a member today. Support the clubs that support the hobby. They are there providing a great service to all of us. And make sure when you do become a member, submit logs, send in your musings, your thoughts, and things like that, as you'll see in the newsletters there. Make sure you be part of the active community in the clubs as well. We're up on the top of the hour alert, right? Let's do this. Top of the hour alert time. Perseus with the Jaguar and the kHz. Let's start looking northwest. Let's go. Here in a bit, after the top of the hour, we'll talk some strategies for graveyard frequencies, by the way, as a reminder.
Can help you too. Just go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Earnings out is up to $26,000 per employee. Go to getrefunds.com.
Sounds like a local ad.
Getrefunds.com.
Now we're north. Yes, sir, Dave. We're going to talk about that.
to get help on day 1, day 2, day 983, or any day, please visit LOS.org or call 1-800-955-4572. That's LOS.org or 1-800-955-4572.
Hey, Genevieve, talking to you. Did you know that HIV is still a problem in the U.S.? Did you know that HIV is not the same as AIDS? Did you know that all genders are vulnerable to HIV? Did you know that current treatments for HIV can prevent the disease from progressing and prevent transmission to others? Did you know that when HIV is undetectable, it results in HIV? Did you know that 21% of new HIV cases in the U.S. occur among those aged 19 to 24? Now you know. It's the facts about HIV and AIDS testing. Everyone should get tested at least once as part of routine health care. People with higher risk factors such as pregnant and menstrual women. The American Hearing Aid Foundation can help you learn more and find safe, fast, confidential testing in your area.
All right. So let's pause for a second. So we're pretty much out of network time here. So I was kind of listening. Sometimes you usually get a network ID, or I'm sorry, a network break that ends around 5, 6 after the news and things like that. They'll have a little network break with commercials, and then by about 6, 7 minutes after the hour, you've probably heard your ID you're going to hear if you're going to hear it, and then it goes back into network content. So I like to kind of keep it up until about 6, 7 after on these. So let's talk some strategy for this week. Graveyarders are a unique beast to tame here, and I mentioned it during a lot of our challenges last year when we were on a graveyard frequency. But Dave, our friend up here in Arkansas, hit the first tip of this week right on the head. Backing off your RF gain on your radio, if you have that capability to do so, is a absolute game changer for graveyarders. Let me demonstrate for you why. You probably saw it a few moments ago, but I'm going to start off here. We're going to start at full gain basically here. Let me see if I can go full. Okay, yeah, I can go full. So this is full gain. Okay, this is no attenuation on the Perseus. Your RF gain may be a knob or a slider if you're using a portable or desktop radio, or in an SDR program. It may be a setting that you can change. Here on the Perseus, we don't have RF gain, we have attenuation. So it may be attenuation is maybe what it's called on your receiver. So on the Perseus, we actually have 3 stages of attenuation. We have a 10 dB of attenuation, a 20, and a 30. And so right now I have no attenuation on here. So let's hear what it sounds like here.
0 goes 8.5%. It wasn't 0. And it kept saying it. No said it, no once, not twice, instead of repeating it. Kamala Harris said it repeatedly.
And now watch what happens when I back the gain off a little bit. I'm going to go 10, and then I'm going to go 20, and then I'm going to go 30 dB of attenuation, and see if you can notice a difference. So obviously, number one difference is that it was a little weaker, right? The signal levels came down. What this does by backing off the RF gain is there are 100, 150, whatever it is, stations here on this frequency. If you have your gain all the way up, you're getting everything kind of full blast, right? And so you're getting this huge rumble. It's just a mess. And stations are trying to rise up to the top of that frequency, but that rumble, it's kind of like a noise floor. So by backing the RF gain down, what you essentially do is you're lowering that noise floor and allowing a dominant station to be able to come up to the top much more noticeably. So when I pull in 10, 20, 30 dB of attenuation here on the Perseus, or if I'm over here on my Elad FDM-S3, I go over here to the SDR console. I have my RF gain option. So if you're using an SDR and you're using SDR console, look for this RF gain on the home tab. And you can see here, I have just like the Perseus, I have 3 stages of RF gain reduction attenuation. I have a 6 dB drop, a 12 dB drop, and an 18 dB drop. I typically like, when I do a graveyarder, I like to be in the 30 plus dB range of attenuation or RF gain reduction. Something in that 30, 40, 50 dB. Really, when I used to do it on my my desktop radios, like my Drake R8, I would back it all the way down until I couldn't hear anything anymore, and then I would back up just a little bit, just so I could hear something, right? And I might turn up my volume a little bit, but I just back it up just a little bit so I can hear some signals, and then let stuff rise to the top. That is a technique I learned a long time ago. My dad in 5FPW taught me that one, and it does a fantastic job at lowering that floor, that rumble, which can also cause you fatigue on your ears, by the way. And so if you're listening for long periods of time and it's just that constant roar, that's going to fatigue your ears, and you're not going to be as crisp in hearing those IDs. This allows those stations to pull up and dominate the frequency. Another thing that you can really do here is you can use sidebands for your for trying to hear a dominant station. Let's do a test. I don't know if this is going to work or not, because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But we're going to try it out here on our, let's start with the Elad. So I'm on 1400. Let's go. We're going to be in upper sideband, and I want to see if there's any difference between what station dominates on upper sideband versus lower sideband. Let's try it out. Also, if you have any kind of preamp or anything like that built in here on SDR console and with your radio, make sure you turn that off, and that you're using as much attenuation as you can really do while still hearing signals. Okay, 18 dB is not really a whole lot. Let's go back to the Jaguar here, and see if I can back it off. If you're using like an AirSpy, RSP DX, or any of those SDR Play ones, like Justin, like you have with the RSP that you have, these can, I think with them it's an RF gain slider and SDR Uno, if I remember right. So let me go over here now. I've got my 3 stage. I got 30 dB of attenuation here. Let me bounce back and forth. Let me start with upper sideband and see what I hear, and then compare that to lower. So I've got a talk station here with a piano station underneath. The talk station is weaker. The music's a little more dominant there on lower sideband, where on upper sideband the talk station is more dominant. For whatever reason, sometimes a station will be more dominant on one sideband than on the other. You'd think AM, they're going to be about the same signal on both. Not true. Sometimes lower sideband, they're a little more crisp. Sometimes they're a little more crisp on upper sideband. If you do have an SDR that you're running through SDR console, and I think SDR Sharp has this as well. Go to your receive. I'm gonna do it in SDR console. Go to your receive, go to AM, and enable binaural mode, and then switch it over to either AM or SAM mode. And what binaural basically does is it throws lower sideband in your left ear, upper sideband in your right ear, so you have that separation. And then you can actually then, with that, it's kind of not really a stereo sound, but you can hear that distinction between the two. So if you're hearing something louder in one ear versus the other, then you can switch to that upper or lower sideband accordingly, so based on which one you're hearing it louder in, and be able to pick them out easier. I did this extensively when I was doing my SDR recording reviews from the stuff I did in Omaha. And I was able to pull out a lot of stations. I'm doing it with the Outer Banks recordings too. A lot of stations on these graveyard frequencies using binaural mode, starting with that lower sideband left ear, upper sideband right ear, then finding which one does it sound like it's louder in, switch to that sideband and get that ID out. Works like an absolute champ. Let's test it out real quick here in SDR Console. Obviously, if you have headphones or earbuds in right now, you're going to notice this a lot more. If you don't have those on, you're doing this like a speaker or your iPhone or TV. Come back to this part of the stream. Write down this time right now. We're 2015 Central Daylight Time. So write down this point. Come back to this with some headphones, and you'll hear the difference. This is with it in. That's with it out. And now what it's doing is it has everything kind of going through the same, right? Left and lower and upper sideband are both coming through. I'm in this SAM mode, synchronous AM mode. It's going to basically put it through both, right? But now I'm going to separate them back out again. So here we go. Another thing that's helpful, you can turn off your gain, your AGC, your automatic gain control. Turn that off and attenuate. All right, so we've talked about a couple of techniques. We talked about attenuating or backing off your RF gain depending on what your radio has, if that's an option for you. We've talked about using lower and upper sideband to separate out those signals that are stronger on one sideband versus another, and then also using binaural mode if you have that available, such as here in SDR Console, SDR Sharp, enabling that binaural mode so that it actually splits those two sidebands out into your ears if you're using headphones, which I always recommend that you do, especially on graveyarders, and it makes it easier for you to be able to pick out which sideband they're stronger in, and then you can dive into that sideband to try to pull out an ID. So those are 3 techniques. Another technique, I actually just saw it mentioned here, is someone talking about Sunrise DX. That reminded me of another technique. Make sure you are trying not just overnight. Overnights are great, but once Skywave, I mean, you're going to potentially have some different things at different times of the night, but once it's kind of like after dark, you're going to hear a lot of the same stations. That one I heard earlier, KELD, I've heard them before. They're kind of my more common 1400. Sunset and sunrise, though, and probably 2.5 hours after sunset, 2 hours or so before sunrise, depending on where you are, can start yielding some pretty interesting results. So definitely don't just DX at one point of the day. You're going to want to mix this up this week with your graveyarders. Try some morning, try some evening, try some overnight, try even some daytime. You know, if you don't have like a local in your area, see if you get anything daytime. I used to get in Charleston, I used to get down the coast into Florida when I was there during the daytime on my graveyarders. Sometimes even up the coast a little bit, but usually down coast. So yeah, definitely try different times of the day. And while we're talking about this graveyard frequency this 1 week, another secret to graveyard success is try throughout the year. What you hear right now in October on that graveyard frequency is going to be completely different from what you hear in April or in July or in January. Every month, because that gray line morning and night is going to be changing angles. You know, in the middle of winter, that D layer is not building up as strong as it is in the middle of summer. So in summer, you're getting more absorption. And what that typically does, I have noticed on graveyard frequencies, is it actually reduces the likelihood of me hearing distant graveyarders, like 500, 600, 700, 800 mile away graveyarders are not as common during the summer months. I get a shot at more of those kind of intermediate range, 200, 300, 400 mile graveyarders. In the winter time, where the D layer doesn't build up as much in the atmosphere during the course of the day, it breaks down quicker, it breaks down easier. I'm getting more 600, 700, 800, 900 plus mile receptions from graveyard frequencies during those months, because now I'm getting longer skip, and those 300, 400 milers that are kind of more close in aren't as common. They're being overpowered by the longer skip that's further away. So this is not just a 1 week thing, my friends. For graveyarders, you want to look every month as that angle changes, sunset, sunrise, and overnight, every month at a graveyard frequency. You're going to see different things in different times of the year. So just some things you may want to think about for this week and beyond. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some more DX. We're going to spend some more time on 1400 and see what we have a shot at hearing. Again, this live DX session is brought to you by the National Radio Club. NationalRadioClub.org is the website for more information about becoming a member of the NRC. So let's take a quick break. Like I said, when we come back, we'll spend some more time here on 1400 and see what might be behind door number 1400.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AM/DX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AM/DXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teak Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teakpublishing.com for more information. That's teakpublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana. Hopefully you're having a great evening and maybe some great DX heading your way. Before we get back to the live DX, I did want to talk about something really quick that I noticed. I've been noticing recently, I'll say that. Our friend Justin, UB Studios, mentioned something about Sunrise DX in the chat being more successful for him than Sunset. Which, by the way, Justin has a great live stream that he does of live AMDX from his location up in Minnesota. I think he said tomorrow night. You're going to be doing one tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, I think, right, Justin? Make sure you follow him here on YouTube. UB Studios is his name here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to his channel as well, and do the bell icons to be notified when he does a live stream, because he has a fantastic live stream he does from up there. I always enjoy hearing, for me, part of the fun of these live streams is being able to hear what people are hearing in different parts of the country, right? That's why I like listening to online SDRs. So getting to hear what he's hearing and then comparing that to what I'm hearing, that's fun for me. And I hope that you guys have the same thing when you're watching our live stream. It's kind of interesting to see that perspective of what the band sounds like from somewhere else. So definitely give him a follow, UB Studios, here on YouTube. So something I've noticed this week, as I've been doing my 570 DX here, and I've noticed it lately, but I kind of finally got a beat on what I think's going on here. So I've been noticing that Sunset DX has been kind of meh lately. Sunrise isn't too bad. I'm hearing some good stuff on Sunrise, but Sunset, which typically was my absolute favorite time to DX, was Sunset, and I had gobs of DX coming in on Sunset. Lately, it seems to be not as great, especially this week on 570. And here's my theory. You guys let me know if you agree or disagree, or if I'm way off scientifically or whatever. Our sunspot numbers are up. Solar flux is up. We were at 163 earlier this week. I think we're at 130 something today. So solar activity is on the rise, and typically higher sunspot and solar flux numbers are great for higher frequencies like FM, VHF, UHF, and the high end of the HF bands. They're terrible for those who are in the lower frequencies, such as AM broadcast, ham radio, 160 meters, 80 meters, and so forth. It's much noisier down low when you have these high sunspot numbers, high solar flux, high solar activity, where that's actually energizing the band up high around 10 meters, 6 meters. That's why we're seeing so much activity right now on 10 meters and 12 meters, where it had been kind of dead because there was nothing happening. The bands were dead because there wasn't a lot of solar activity during the minimum. Now we're seeing activity there. So my theory is this. What I've noticed is I can actually watch it on my Jaguar software. You'll start to see, if I show you here, we talked a bit about this here last week, right? How when you're looking at this Jaguar software, these little yellow bars right here are indicative of a signal coming in. And at night, every frequency, because these are each individual frequencies, every frequency has a bar because there's signals on every frequency coming in via skywave. During the day, you may have some that are halfway there or some that are not there at all. Well, I've noticed that those bars start populating from the top end of the band around sunset, and then they make their way down the band, and by a little bit after sunset or so, now we start seeing stuff down the low end of the band. So my theory here is that we have this solar activity, it's energizing the atmosphere, and that D layer is taking a longer time to break down. As we get into and past sunset, there's more of a D layer because, again, it's just more of an energized atmosphere. And so those higher frequencies, which are energized by that solar activity, will be the first ones to kind of be noticeable. And then it just makes its way down as the D layer begins to break down, right? And then by the time we get to this time of night, you see everything's there. So that's my theory. And I want to see if you guys are seeing anything similar. If you haven't been checking it, pay attention to when you are doing sunset, compare low end of the band, 540, 550, 560, somewhere in there, to the upper end of the band, say 15s, 16s, 14s. See if you notice a difference. Right around like an hour before sunset, during sunset, an hour after sunset. What are you noticing? Because I used to, 2 hours before sunset, I started seeing conditions improving when we were at our solar minimum. Conditions would start to improve around 2 hours before sunset, and man, it was just chock full of signals. And then we get to sunset, and it would just keep going west, right? Chock full of signals, and we just had all this great DX to choose from. Now it's taking a bit more time for that skywave condition to go all the way down the band. So you let me know. What are you guys seeing? Let me know in the chat, and we'll discuss. But let's go back here to our DX, our live DX, starting with 1400. Another outstanding observation from our friend Earl Higgins, mentioning that sunset DX really does, in this time of the year, really starts getting going towards the latter half of the month. October sunset DX in end of October into November is much, much better. So that is also a very, very astute observation. It is very seasonal. So yes, I definitely agree. Also good, Carl makes a mention as we get into winter months, when we have our shorter days of the year. One of the things that you're going to see is, because we have less daylight, right, shorter days, that D layer is not as strong. It doesn't build up as much. In some cases, it can barely build up. It's very spotty, and you can actually get skywave type propagation in the middle of the day. Two examples I have for you on that. Usually it's towards the higher end of the band. 1200, I was in Brasstown, North Carolina in the middle of December on a very, very snowy day. I heard WOAI in San Antonio at high noon. It was dead on high noon. 1200 kilohertz, heard WOAI from Brasstown, North Carolina. My second example was when I was in Charleston in dead winter. I think it was January around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I heard 1610 CHHA out of Ontario from Charleston, South Carolina, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So absolutely another great observation there. During those winter months, go back to your daytime DX. You may be surprised what's waiting for you, because that skywave propagation has a better chance of getting through because the D layer is not as strong in absorbing AM signals. What did he say? Okay, it sounded like a PSA. I still don't know exactly what he was saying there, but let me switch it to upper sideband and see if he's any stronger over there. Maybe not. Wow, see? In lower sideband, I could actually kind of hear what he was saying. Upper sideband, not at all. Wasn't even registering that he was there. So, great example of using those sidebands to your advantage. In this case, lower sideband is the better option for that station. My friends, we have a celebrity in our midst right now. The man behind the antennas that have powered not just my station for the last 2 years or so, but many, many, many amazing DX catches around the world, Mr. Neil Kazaros. Thank you, Neil, for jumping in here, Kaz, my friend. Welcome, 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 welcome. One of those DXers, I've mentioned it before. There are a handful of DXers that I grew up reading about, reading their loggings, watching what they did and what they heard. Neil's in that list, right? The Mark Conleys, the Bruce Contis, the Ernie Coopers, right? These guys, kind of the classically amazing DXers. Neil is definitely on that list, so thank you, Neil, for being here. I gotta admit, I'm a little starstruck to have Neil on the stream. That's amazing. And wait a minute, I just realized who else we have on the stream right now. KillaCat7. You guys know who that is. It's our friend Tim Trump. Let me tell you, you talk about somebody getting an amazing result with a Kaz or DKaz antenna. This guy, he gets things that people with beverages are like, how the hell did you hear that? Oh, I just realized we have both of them. We have both amazing Kaz users here with us. Finally, I don't know why that took me so long, Tim. Sorry. You talk about somebody hearing Australia from Michigan with 140-foot DKaz. This guy, you look on, I forget which of my videos. It was either the logbook video or the analysis video, one of the two. I showed a map of Tim's catches he's heard up in Michigan on medium wave list, and it literally stretches across the globe. It has to connect onto the other side because he's hearing stuff that far away from his home QTH there in Michigan. He's one of those that I am absolutely, one of these days when I have enough land and I put up a big old DKaz or 2 or 3 or more, it's going to be because of someone like Tim and what he was able to do. So you guys, I'm still over here in the aspirational mode for a lot of my DX and still learning from guys like Neil and Tim and Mark Conley and some of these others. I'm still learning from them and aspiring to what I want to be as a DXer when I grow up. I saw Neil talking about Tim, and I remembered that I had put this together a couple of months ago, and it just slipped my mind. I forgot. I was like, wait a minute, that's Tim. That's Tim Trump. Damn it. So for our new arrivals here, we're sitting on 1400, our frequency of the week. We have a 10 kilohertz split of 1400 and 9 kilohertz of 621. So Tim, I expect to see some international DX from you this week on 621. But we're sitting on 1400 right now. We've got our gain back down. We've attenuated down 30 dB. And we're sitting here on 1400. We did hear KELD in El Dorado, Arkansas already. And so now we're just seeing what else we got. All right, so I mentioned I did earlier say we were going to do a celebration before we get to the top of the hour alert to get time again here. Let's do some celebrations. So I know we had some folks with some new states, some new logs, and some new countries, and they're up there. So let's go ahead and put it in the chat again. I apologize. I meant to write it down. I didn't write it down. But go ahead and put in the chat again if you've heard a new country this last week, a new state this last week. Like we got Charles with Oklahoma, new country, new state, or a new logged station. We want to make sure we celebrate with you here. So go ahead and put that in the chat, and we'll get you a celebration before the top of the hour here. So let us know, and I'll write it down this time. All right, I've got Neil, Danny, Rick, and Tom. Of course, we had Charles. We'll do Charles again here with his KOKC in Oklahoma for New State. New State. And Rick's New State on Graveyard. Hit me up some more in the chat, guys. Let me know what you're hearing, what you heard this week. New logs, new state, new countries. Tim had 7 new ones, guys. 7 new. I forgot on this camera. 7 new ones this week. I would have thought you'd have already logged like all the stations in the U.S. already, right? No, congratulations, man. Keep them coming. Let's see them. Try upper sideband, see if we hear anything different here. You ever hear one of those little laser things and you know someone just gave a slogan or an ID and all you heard was the laser and you just go, "Grr." All right, so we're coming up here. We got we're doing one more break here in a bit, and we got the top of the hour alert coming up here, obviously still. So before we get to those, let's go ahead and do our celebrations here. So these are the ones I got written down here. If I've missed you, I apologize. It will not let me scroll up in the chat past a certain point, so you can still submit your new loggings, new states, new countries in the chat, and we'll get you another shout out here before we wrap up tonight. But let's go back through new state. Overall new state for our friend Charles in San Diego in Southern California, here in Oklahoma this week. All right. Got Neil. He heard 2 stations from San Francisco this week, 2 new ones for him, 1100 and then 810 KGO, and they were doing some stunting this week. So 2 new San Francisco Bay Area stations for our friend Neil. Yeah. We got Danny heard CHOK 1070. Troy, I'm the same way. I that Fox Sports sounder, and as soon as you hear it at the top of the hour, you know your ID is gone for another hour. You're not gonna hear it because they only ID. It's like those 2-3 seconds right before you hear that. As soon as you hear that, just go ahead and change frequencies. You're not gonna hear anything local out of them. Good job, Danny, on the new one there from Ontario. Rick, tonight on the stream, we were able to help him confirm he heard a brand new station in Michigan on a graveyard frequency tonight, hearing Sturgis, and also 2 other stations as well, new logs for him this week. Tom, our friend Tom Lakowski, who had a great week, by the way, this last the week 2 results, had a great week on the medium wave frequency challenge. Always up there, high up on the list, but had a great week. WWNC, which is an old station for me, I used to actually work at, right? When I was in Nashville, so always like to see that one mentioned. And then HJND down in Colombia, Radio Nacional de Colombia, heard them this week as well for a new one for him. I don't know, I'm guessing that's probably not the first Colombian that you've heard, but definitely a new one log here for you. So we got you. All right. And Tim Trump, I joke, he has heard, it seems like sometimes every station under the sun, but he's still, even with all those logs, he's still got 7 new ones this week. So there's still hope for every one of us to continue to add new stations to the log, including a new one from down under for him. So 7 new stations for our friend Tim up in Michigan. So congratulations, my friend. And just in here, our friend Rob, our winner from week 2 of the medium wave frequency challenge, heard not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 new stations on 570 this week. KLIF, where'd it go? KLIF, HJND there in Columbia, WKYX, I think that was in Kentucky, right? Paducah, WSYR, WMCA up in New York, and WQDR, all new ones for Rob. So good job, my friend. All right, we got enough logs here. We're gonna be getting short on trees. We keep doing this. Also, I saw it here a second ago. Where'd you go, Keegan? Our friend Keegan up here in Arkansas. On 1030, KCWJ and KCTA by night, mixing with KFAY, which is a local there in Arkansas. So good job, Keegan. Fantastic. Again, if I missed you, if you have a new log, new state, new station, new country, you still have time. We're going to get to another one of these if we have some more folks that have new stuff. We'll get another one in before before we wrap up the show tonight. So let's do one last break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to do a DX session. We'll have top of the hour alert coming up here in about 5 minutes or so. So stay tuned, my friends. We'll have more DX right here on DX Central Live.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, We perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live, right here from the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana, every Friday night at 18:45 Central Time, 23:45 UTC. We're coming up on top of the hour alert here in just a few moments, so I got the remote control ready to go us red here. So before we do, a couple of little housekeeping things. I saw Neil mentioning the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery in the comments, asking if folks are using it with the co-channel canceller and things like that. I know we typically, I think this week we had the strongest SDR use was the AirSpy. So a lot of folks are out there using it, getting some great DX. I have a laptop sitting here. This was my old DX radio. I have a laptop sitting here. And I'm going to plug my AirSpy into it. I have to weatherproof my U-loop. I have a U-loop, right? AirSpy U-loop. And so I'm going to weatherproof that sucker, and I'm going to put it out here somewhere in the backyard, if I can find a spot, and run that through to my AirSpy on this laptop. And I don't know if I'm going to run it so it can be accessed remotely or not. I haven't figured that out yet, if I want to do that or not, if I can. But yeah, I think that's one I definitely want to add back to the arsenal. I miss having my U-loop and my AirSpy, because that co-channel canceller is fantastic. So I want to do some more experimenting with it and some more time in the seat with it. So that will be a thing coming here soon. Maybe a weekend project for me this weekend to get the U-loop back up in the air and try that sucker out. All right, so let's basically we're right here at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and make it happen. Top of the alert time means we are looking for IDs, and it's about 3.5 minutes till the top of the hour. Let's go back up to 1400, see what we get. Marco, that's exactly how I got Ecuador for the first time on 1510. I use the co-channel canceller on SDR Sharp with my AirSpy to get rid of WLAC and hear Radio Monumental on 1510. That's exactly how I did that. Fantastic radio. This little AirSpy is tiny, and if you can get it on sale, I'm sure Yusuf will have a sale coming up here pretty soon. He usually does around Black Friday. Kudos and thank you, and I'm on this camera. Kudos and thank you again, Bill, for another week of being our hammer, laying down the smackdown on the spam. Thank you. Fantastic job. Not up in here. Okay, I heard of Fox Sports in there. I don't know who that would have been. I don't think that's El Dorado. So I heard of Fox Sports in there. I'm gonna rewind it here. I had a recording going on my Elad. We'll check that here in a moment as well. But let me rewind back and check and see if we can get that ID out. Let me move to lower sideband and see if we get a better shot at it. See you, Dave. Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. Good luck with your DX session. I think it was louder upper sideband. Let's go back. Yeah, I hear that too, Kaz. Let's see who we got. 98.1 FM, 1400 AM. Pulls up. First thing it pulls up is WMXI, the voice of the Pine Belt. I don't think that's them, though. Who would that be? Where is the Pine Belt? Where is this supposed to be? Yeah, Bill makes a great point. If you have the capability of recording SDR recordings or whatever, graveyard frequencies, SDR is going to be a game changer for you. So I also have a WJQS the Fan as when I already heard them before. That's a possibility. Let me see, what were they again? I think that's probably who it is. Yeah. Well, they're 106.3, the Fan, and they're CBS. Thanks, Marco. The WWLS, the Sports Animal. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on this one, guys, and see who we might have just got. I got the recording here saved. I can also now switch over to our Elad FDMS3 here in SDR Console. Let me stop my recording so we can go back and play it. See, that's, again, one of the great things about Jaguar. is I do not have to stop recording. It's still recording right now, even as I sit here. Let me reload. And I'll go here in a minute, Earl, and see if I can hear at the top of the hour on 1210 what you were hearing, and see if we got him here with the music. That's another frequency. I wish I had KOKK out of South Dakota here. That'd be nice. All right, there is our recording we just made. Let's restart. And this is our Southwest CAS that we have up right here. The 215 22x70. So we would be pointing towards Texas with this one, possibly. Okay, there's a Spanish station, something FM in there, I hear. Yeah, I'll have to play with that audio a little bit on that one to see if I can pull that out. I hear the 1400 on that one. I'm guessing it's one of the Texas stations, more than likely, but we'll have to spend some time on it. CBS sports stations carry CBS News. I doubt usually, unless they're, smaller stations might. But usually CBS Sports is CBS Sports, and they kind of keep that usually segregated because that's a whole other service you have to sign up for if you're wanting to pull in the CBS News. But like my old AM station I did middays on, we had ABC News, but we did we were doing ABC's adult contemporary format, so we were pulling in their adult contemporary music format satellite, and we also had their news at the top of the hour. Let's go back over to our Jaguar Perseus combo. Let me go to 1210 here for our friend Earl and see if we can pull out anything from that top of the hour, see if we hear what he was hearing with music. You tell me if this is what you were hearing, if we have something similar. Yeah. 73, Kaz. Take care, my friend. Thank you.
I'm George Flynn on Sunny 103, and we want to listen to you. You've got answers here. I think we have Eastern Arkansas with some good answers about maybe even the Lone Ranger here on Sunny 103.
There you go, Earl. Sunny 103 to be MPS. Bartlett, Tennessee. That's who it looks like we got there on 1210 for you, my friend.
I'm George Flynn on Sunny 103, and we want to listen to you. You've got answers here. I think we have Eastern Arkansas with some good answers about maybe even the Lone Ranger here on Sunny 103.
Thompson from Marion, Arkansas, and Lone Ranger had the silver bullet.
Well, Peggy, thank you very much for the information. The Lone Ranger has the silver bullet. You sure? I thought Tonto had the tomahawk or something. Tonto had a knife. That's what it was. It was a knife. He carried a knife. And we've got somebody calling in about one of our favorite topics. I want to hear this story right here on Sunny 103. I believe he's going to talk about phone numbers. Hello, how you doing? Speaking of phones.
This is kind of interesting.
Oh, I forgot the Whitehall, and of course there was Jackson and Fairfax, Glendale. Help me out now. Whitehall. I'm messing it up here. Give me some more telephone exchange.
I'm just amazed I'm hearing local content. This is great. Local jock in studio. This is nice.
Fixes right here on Sunny 103.
AM 1210, WMPS, Bartlett, Memphis. W276BH, Memphis. Sunny 1210, Glen Broadcasting.
Okay, I don't know if I have this air check or not, so I'm going to grab it just in case for the channel here. So bear with me, folks. I'm going to grab my Bandicam. Woohoo. And we're going to record this. Let me go back.
Messing it up here. Give me some more telephone exchange prefixes right here on Sunny 103.
AM 1210, WMPS, Bartlett, Memphis. W276BH, Memphis. Sunny 1210, Glen Broadcasting Station.
I'm George Flynn on Sunny 103. Cover songs are coming up, so get ready to call.
Wait. I don't think I changed which... Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay. I was making sure I had it recording the right screen. Whew. Let me double check it.
Exchange prefixes right here.
Okay, that works. So yeah, we're gonna save that one and upload that to the channel. All right. So hey, there you go, Earl. Was that a new one for you? Are we gonna throw out a log here, chainsaw for you? St. Louis, under Oklahoma, and Philadelphia. Ah, man, I was hoping we were going to pull a log out for you. Hey, glad we were able to help you at least solve the mystery, if a little bit, if you didn't already have it solved. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to wrap up for the night and send you about your way onto 1400 and 621 kilohertz. I'll be posting here on social media in a bit on Twitter and on Facebook, our usual spots and email reflectors with our link for the Google form. And then I'll also be putting up the link with a blog post here in a bit. Probably tomorrow, I'll put up the blog post with the highlight video with the results from week 2, along with the actual spreadsheet with the data. That way you guys can dive into that if you'd like to. As always, thank you so much for joining us here on DX Central Live. So much fun tonight. I feel like every week it just keeps getting better and better and better. Now that we have our PC issues sorted out, it's much easier and less stressful for me. I can actually enjoy it and have fun now without having to worry about the PC crashing. So thank you all, my friends. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to seeing what you hear this week. Graveyards are so much fun. Remember the advice we gave earlier, some of the tips and tricks. If you need to go back in and rewatch the video again, it's there for you. We'll see you next week right here on YouTube. 1845 Central Time, 2345 UTC from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, my friends. Take care. Best of DX 73. We'll see you next time on DX Central Live.
DX Central. Because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. This is DX Central Live.